Hey, good evening, folks, and welcome to another special edition to Here's the Deal. I'm your host, Shilo, and got Marvin with us. How are you, Marv?
Good. I don't even know if we call these special editions anymore, dude.
Yeah, pretty much,
We're
right?
rolling like 2-3 times a week. I don't know if we're special editions or this is your regularly scheduled program.
Right. Well, we had a we had an event come up last week, and we've had guests already for our regular show on Tuesday and Friday, and so we decided to have this show tonight because it's something that's really important. And so, with that being said, I'm excited about the guest that we have tonight. Uh, him and I started this show together a while ago, and to say that he's a friend is an understatement. He's a brother to me anymore. He's a brother in Christ. He's just a great person, great friend of mine. He used to be the co-host here, Marvin, and it's everybody's favorite barber rancher guy, Mr. Luke Simons. How are you, Luke?
Well, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for the nice
Bet.
introduction. I hope to live up to all
Bet.
that.
Well, I was telling
You did.
Shiloh right before, and you right before you came on. Shiloh was after me for like 3 months, and my biggest hang up is there's some awful big shoes to fill coming on after you, Luke. I mean every word of that.
No. Thanks for trying to flatter me, you guys. But after after Shiloh kicked me off the air,
Here he comes.
Yeah. No, I'm just going through a lot of my own stuff right now, and I don't have time to be on the air right now. So that's what's going on.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank
You
you.
bet.
Before we really get into it, for those of you who hadn't heard, there was a plane crash today, including one of our state senators, Doug Larson.
Yeah.
I'd really like just to give him a moment of silence for that. I'm not much one for outdoor prayers, or out loud prayers. I'm horrible at them. But for those of you that know his family, please reach out and express some kindness. We hope that him and his family go to the Lord with grace. So, thank you guys for that. I'm really shook up about it because I've had a lot of really great conversations with Doug, and I got the message at like 10:30 this morning, and it's been a long day. So, thank you guys. Now,
You bet.
Yeah, Doug was a heck of a good guy, good legislator. We lost one of the good ones. He was calculated. Some people maybe thought he was holding his powder back, but he was a good ally, and will surely be missed in the Senate.
Yeah.
It just makes me sick that he lost his children, his wife, and himself all in a plane accident, and just words can't say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much. I'm just thinking my family.
I never knew the man, but it's a bad thing, and I feel for his family and friends, and I pray for their healing in this hard time.
Yeah. So
Oh,
we could talk about that all night, but anyway, Luke, how have you been other than getting kicked off the show?
Well,
great.
so when drama seems to run around, I seem to be in the middle of it half the time, and I just got these handcuffs off. I have a Class B misdemeanor now. I have a 300. I am personally on 365 days unsupervised probation. I'm not joking. I'm not making this up. Never been in trouble with the law before in my life. And I lost all of my gun privileges. That's what they said, gun privileges, They aren't privileges, they're rights, for 365 days. Okay. So how that happened, this is how it happened. I, I made threats against President Biden, and that's how it happened. No, that's not how it happened. I made threats against our governor. No, that's not how it happened. I threatened violence against the state's attorney. That's not how it happened. How it happened is I bought a Kia Sonata, I think it's Sonata, from my parents, a 2014 black car, nice car. I purchased it. The license plates were still good on it. So I thought, you know what? This is my parents' car. I'm going to drive it until the license plates go bad. Got pulled over. License plates were bad. And the police officer, really kind, he's like, hey, do you own this car? Well, I'm not a liar. I said, yes, I do. He goes, well, it's not in your name. I said, you're right. It's not. It's in my parents' name. He goes, well, Luke, did you know you have, I think he said 30 days to transfer title? And I said, no, I guess I didn't know you had 30 days. I knew you had a certain amount of time, but anyways, so what happened was he said, Luke, I can't give you a ticket for this. This is actually a Class B misdemeanor. I said, you're kidding me. He goes, no, it's a Class B misdemeanor. So he gave me a court date. I showed up to the court date, obviously. And after that, the judge asked me, how do I plead? Well, Marvin, how do you think I pled?
Guilty because you're an honest man.
I'm honest. Okay. That's why. I don't think you need to have an attorney if you're honest. I know Shilo called me up and, what were you thinking? You should have had an attorney. And I know that, Shilo. And I could have probably afforded to even have an attorney. But what about the poor people that don't have an attorney? What about the people that can't afford an attorney? So I told the judge, honestly, no, I won't take an attorney. And I'm guilty because I didn't register the vehicle, and I was going to. Now, mind you, the very next day I did register the vehicle. Everything seemed to go pretty good until it didn't anymore. Go ahead, Marvin.
Did they tell you what a Class B was punishable to when they asked you on the attorney?
Okay, so what they said was, as I recall, and I don't have a script of it yet, what they said is this could be up to 30 days in jail, and you could up to 30 days in jail and a $500 fine. That's what I recalled. And I was thinking to myself, okay, that seems a little steep for not registering your vehicle in a set amount of time. But I was also thinking to myself, that's why he's a judge, to see that this is my parents' car, yada, 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 etc. So I pled guilty to it. He came back at me and said, well, Mr. Simons, I'd like to waive the $500 fee and go to $300 fee, which was whatever, nice. And I was thinking, okay, this is going good. And then the wheels fell off. And then he said 365 days of unsupervised probation. Then you lose your gun rights for 365 days. You lose your gun rights for 365 days. Mind you, that's because I didn't license a motor vehicle, change title in my name. Class B misdemeanor, 365 days probation, and lost my gun rights for 365 days. And mind you, also, if they knock on my door, if the police knock on my door, I don't have the right to say you can't come in. You need a search warrant now, because that's what happens when you're on probation. You're waiving those rights. So, anyways, it's a huge deal. And if you both recall, we fought red flag laws in the legislature.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
that's
sir,
what
we did.
this is arming the state 101. I just told a guy, okay, so for stealing a horse, or excuse me, for stealing we'll say a vehicle, that's a felony. Okay. The felony, automatic felony. And I don't like felonies because they're life sentences, but I understand it. I get it. But to steal a candy bar and get what a felon would get for stealing a car, or if you know what I'm saying, stealing
Yep.
a car and a candy bar is right here. Okay. Candy bar, not such a big deal. Okay. Car, that's a big deal. I don't know how much bigger they could have made this for not getting my vehicle. And you would have seen, a judge would have seen, you know what? He went and got this thing as soon as they brought to his attention. He went and got this thing licensed. That's the story. I mean, literally 365 days, no guns, on probation. This is infuriating. And this happened in Stark County. I wish I could say it happened in Fargo. It didn't. It happened in Stark County. Then, to put a little bit more gasoline on the fire, he asked me what I thought of the sentencing, and I said, "Sir, I don't like the idea of losing my guns for 365 days." And he said, "You know what? Let's waive that." The state's attorney piped up and said, "It's mandatory that you do this. State law." Found out later from a representative who I'm not going to say their name right now, that is not true at all. And actually, that judge could have waived the whole thing and not give me anything at all if he would have wanted to. And I plan on writing a letter to the editor on the local level of that, because I don't think that's going to go exactly unnoticed by most voters. But where was I going with that story, you guys?
The state's attorney.
The state's attorney. Mind you, this is the same state's attorney that when our
friend,
our governor, Emperor Burgum, when he shut my barbershop down, I wasn't exactly happy about that. Originally, I think everybody was a little bit concerned. I was concerned. But then I started reading the CDC stuff and all that fun stuff, and I realized it's not as it seems. Well, I called the sheriff, and as both of you know, I have a really good sheriff in Stark County. And he said, "Okay, you can open the shop up. I'm not going to do anything, but it is going to put a lot of pressure on me because the city, the PD, all of these people are not going to be happy that I'm not going to arrest you." Which I was glad that he wasn't going to arrest me. So I didn't do it. And I waited for the governor. And that's what he told me to do. He said, "Wait for the governor. If the governor doesn't let up, just open your barbershop up." Well, you guys both know me. I wrote a letter, and the letter kind of went all over the state. And I just said, "You know what? I'm opening my barbershop on this said date with or without the governor's permission. Last time I checked, this isn't Russia. This isn't Mexico. This is land of the free, home of the brave. If you're not brave enough to come get a haircut, because you might get sick, and then if you go to the hospital, they're going to give you a Tylenol, by the way, and they'll get $10,000. But that's a whole different story."
Yeah, no kidding.
So I wrote the letter saying, I was opening my barbershop with or without governors. Well, I found out later, people everywhere started getting crazy. And I'm not saying that I'm taking the credit for all that. It just happened that way. It just happened that I was the first person to make a public letter about it. That state's attorney told the sheriff that if he doesn't have guts enough, we'll say, to come down and arrest me, that she could do it for him. That's what she said. That's the same state's attorney that just gave me 365 days on supervised probation and lost my gun rights. That's it.
So a member of the judicial branch was going to circumvent a member of the executive branch to come arrest you?
Well, Marvin, what she was really saying is if he didn't have enough guts to do it, she could do it for him. is
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
get into situations like that, the chances are the attorney's going to show up with the cops.
Right.
Mhm.
And just as a side note, you guys, I sat on judiciary for 3 years under Kim Koppelman, who was an absolute wonderful chairman. But one thing that really bothered me about sitting on judiciary is judges. Why do we call him a judge?
Their job's to interpret the law.
Well, and to judge the law
Well,
and to judge the so-called person.
yeah.
That's their job. So a judge can be lenient and a judge can be hard. And he's elected, or she is elected, and therefore people, if they like a lenient judge, they can have a lenient judge. If they want one that's harsh, let them be harsh. That's the way it should be. So I'm against all mandatory laws from the state government or federal government. And I believe that judges should not be chained by state law as far as mandatory sentencing. Flat out. That's a little different than red flag bills. But just saying, that's a big deal. And people don't realize it. But if that's the case, get rid of judges completely. Just get rid of them and just have a paper pusher, a secretary from the state, and say, "Oh, you qualify for this. Here's your penalty." That's I'm European. That's where we came from. So why do we have a judge? I mean, get rid of the North Dakota Health Department because we don't even use it. We just quote the CDC. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Now, when you bought the vehicle from your folks, was it outright purchase, or are you doing like a contract for title with them?
Good question. I bought it outright. I paid
Okay.
cash.
It was a valid question.
Yeah.
So,
And that's exactly what the they tried to even help me out that way. And say, well, are you making payments? The highway patrolman, are you making payments on this? No, I'm not. And Marvin, I'm honest. That's my honesty. Get this. My barber shop was broke into. There was $10,000 worth of items broken and stolen from me, not including the ATM machine. Okay. How much do you think I got back?
None.
Big zero. None. Zip zero. Okay. I called the state's attorney at the time, who was a different state's attorney than we have now. And I asked him, I said, "Am I going to get my stuff back?" And he goes, and I quote, "You didn't ask for it back, so we didn't know." Well, that's why I called the police, man. Like, I don't understand how it could be possibly any different. I called the police because someone came in and stole my stuff, and you think I would want to ask for it back? I gave you a complete written sheet of everything that was gone, and now I have to write a formal complaint saying I want it back. So that's one thing. Then the second thing that happened to me, I mean, I'm just telling you, before I start building on a killdozer, I just want bad joke. I'm getting upset here because think of it this way. My wife was driving down the road, the same highway patrolman that just gave me a ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
My wife was tootling down the road and a guy pulls out in front of her. She hit him at 76 miles an hour. My wife, one of my daughters, and two little girls she was babysitting, all in the vehicle, okay? Everyone's alive. Vehicle totaled. It was an illegal Mexican man that hit, okay? So it sounds like I'm belly aching. How much money do you think I got for that? How much jail time do you think that illegal Mexican guy did for hit and run, no insurance, etc.? Marvin?
Zero.
Zero. Say it again. Zero. So let me get this right. I'm honest. I go to court. I tell them exactly what happened. I fix the problem, and you're going to give me a B misdemeanor? A B misdemeanor with 365 days of unsupervised probation and losing my gun rights? I'm telling you, it's a big deal.
And that just seems like an ugly situation on top of the fact that who your sheriff is. I mean, he's one of the best in the state, and now he's stuck in the situation he may not agree with either, you know?
Yeah.
So like that's just a mess. Like as soon as I heard what was going on, I went digging. I won't even lie, Luke. Like I scrubbed every district court in the state trying to see if there was any reason to warrant what they had done. But there was no gun violations, there was no harassments. Like the last thing I saw was 2021 and a speeding ticket on the way to Bismarck. And it's like, well, like clearly in this situation, the punishment does not fit the crime. And when I look further into it, that like I went through all the century code. I checked the class B misdemeanors. I checked the punishments because I was at a lot how they took your guns. And that's where I found that it was through the probationary step, which we featured in the article there. It wasn't because of the class B misdemeanor, it was because of the 365 days suspended sentence or deferred sentence placing you on probation is how they do it. Because when you look at that actual 9A form from the Supreme Court website of North Dakota, that's a very, very tricky way to impose a red flag law as far as I'm concerned. Because, I mean, we've all done it. I think I went a couple months last year when I was campaigning. I didn't even notice my tabs were expired because we were all over the state. And I don't remember how it came up, but somebody goes, "Hey, do you know your tabs were expired?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no." So we got it fixed. But I mean, that's not exactly a motor violation either. And I grew up in the country. You all are rural folks too. I mean, how many times do we see people that buy equipment or trucks or farm pickups for bouncing across fields from their neighbors that will never in their life see a title change? It's insane that you were honest, you were forthcoming, you came into court, you told them what was going on, you had already remedied the situation. And it, for me, like seeing that they took your gun rights through this probationary step and hearing that the attorney was bound and determined to make sure that that step was followed through on seems awful lot like somebody was angry at you, man.
Well, if I'd have known that, I'd told her take a number.
I mean, it's just like of all the people to happen to, like you have always been a very large proponent of supporting the Constitution, individual freedoms. Like it's very well known, you're very well spoken about this stuff, and it seems like it was a shot across the bow or a message to the rest of us to sit down and shut up. That's honestly the way I look at it, and Shiloh talked about that this weekend with me. Like, so
I just was talking to another state legislator. You brought up the farm truck.
Yep.
He has a farm truck. He's had it for 8 years, never transferred a title.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm innocent because someone else did this, but you're absolutely right. And I just had another person call me up, and I'm not going to say if I got rid of my guns or not. I'm not going to say that because I would never give her the satisfaction of knowing that. And if they want to, they can come break down my door. Looking back at it, what I should have done is taken the jail time, but I honestly didn't know that this was going to happen. I would have gladly done jail time over this. I think that would have been almost kind of entertaining. I mean, I'm paying taxes for the jail. I might as well utilize it, get a few days.
Some free room and board.
Free meals. But, I mean, it's just like if you don't go in the ditch now and then, I mean, you're paying for 2 of them on every road you're at. So you might as well go into the ditch now and then. Just utilize it. But what were you were saying something about
we're talking the farm truck and stuff.
Yeah, farm trucks.
Before that, though, what you were saying,
Oh, it seemed like I saw it across the bow.
Yeah, a friend of mine called me up, and he is not a conspiracy person. He's a very calm, smooth, select person and an elder in my life. And he called me out of the blue, and this is a man that does not give advice unless you ask for it. And he said, Luke, can I speak to you? I go, yes. He goes, I've been thinking about this. And I didn't tell him anything about the state's attorney. He goes, but this is bigger than what you're thinking. These people are coming after you. That's what they're doing. They're trying to silence you. They're trying to make you an example of hammering you down. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, first of all, he said, you were kicked out of the legislature. First one in North Dakota, which is historic. And then you were the first person ever to be kicked out of any elected position without due process in the legislature or Senate in the United States of America. Said, and you won't be quiet. And so now they're doing this to you. He said, you have to think that this is serious. And when he said that, it actually did shake me up a little bit because I realized how serious this is actually getting. What next? What next? So, but anyways, so thank you for letting me inform your audience about what happened. I can't believe I'm still in shock, honestly, and my attorney has not got back to me. And Marv, you know perfectly well, it's very hard to find an attorney to actually take this up because I'm going to tell you something. I've never told this story on the air before, but I'm going to because I at this point I really have nothing to lose. Congressman Armstrong told me one time. He said he goes, what is up with you? You should be walking around with a white wig and a musket. And I said, he said an effing musket actually is what he said. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm just trying to uphold the Constitution. And he goes, that's what you don't understand. Marvin, you'll know what I'm saying here. He goes, I'm an attorney. And before I swore an oath to the Constitution, I swore an oath to uphold the bar.
Yep.
I swore an oath to uphold the bar. And make no mistake about it, when you go to court, and I'm getting very conspiratorial, is that the U.S. flag that you're seeing and watching? It's not. It's a maritime flag is what that is. It's got a gold fringe around that flag. And anytime you see that gold fringe, it's representation of maritime law, which is also the bar. And those people represent the bar. That's what they represent. And an attorney, good luck having one that'll stand up for your constitutional rights and taking it to the Supreme Court. Good luck. If you have a problem with the state, good luck with finding an attorney to sue the state. Good luck. It's very difficult.
It's not even the state, it's small towns anymore. I mean, we were just talking with the gal from Benedict, it's going through the same thing with ordinances and different things like that.
Yeah, and between her and I, we probably contacted, I would say, 20, 25 firms across the state. And we're not talking little ones. We're talking like Vogel and others. And everybody conveniently comes back with a conflict of interest. Well, and one attorney from a law office finally explained the conflict of interest to me. And he goes, 99% of the time, when we send out a conflict of interest letter, it's because we don't see that there is enough money or we don't want to get involved with suing a government entity. Yeah. And so, like, for us as citizens, we actually talked to a very bright young girl on Saturday here who was going pre-law, and she's a constitutionalist, Luke. She's going to probably be, once she gets done, maybe one of the very first constitutional female attorneys North Dakota ever sees. And that's going to be amazing. She's something else. She's got a great future in front of her. But I mean, there's really maybe 2 or 3 lawyers in the entire state that say that they're constitutional attorneys.
Well, if Bob Hale was still around, he would be telling you a bunch of stuff right now, because there's a difference between an attorney and a lawyer.
Yeah.
And, as you probably know. But the thing is if they're constitutional and they're a lawyer, um, they'll get disbarred pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's how that works. So the thing is civil disobedience is what's next. I mean, I know it's radical. It's radical language. We have a bunch of bedwetters that are talking all the time about how, you're talking about violence and this and that and the other. I tried the legislature. I did. I tried enough, a lot of different things. And civil disobedience is what's going to end up having to happen here. At what point do we just say enough is enough? I mean, they're letting our towns burn to the grounds, and then they come after good people and let the criminals go. What part do we not understand here? Like, what part do we not understand? Last time I checked, I heard we didn't have enough probation officers, so now I'm on unsupervised probation. Like, I'm just not. Just so you guys know, Luke Simons isn't happy. I'm not happy about this.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's leading into something bigger, and they're not playing their whole hand yet, but that's just me.
Yeah. And I mean, it didn't take, you're not stretching very far when you say some of this stuff, Luke, because like when we pulled this attorney's prosecution records, what you did doesn't fit your punishment doesn't fit your crime. And it's very easy, folks. You go to the ND courts, the public search portal, you type in an attorney's name, you type in misdemeanor, and it'll pull all their case records for that district court back to about 2001, 2002. You can literally just scroll through and grab them at random. And you can see there is some misalignments that happen there. But that's neither here nor there. That's I don't think this is the last time we're going to hear your story, Luke. I've had some people reach out to me from larger organizations already asking if they could share our article, and if they'd like to have you on, I'll definitely share your information if you're willing to sit and talk with them. So
I definitely would. Information is good to get out.
Because this is dangerous precedence.
It really is. I had a guy just reach out to me. As you guys know, I'm Quaker. I don't believe in. I don't drink. Okay, if you guys drink, I hope you do it responsibly. I mean, the Bible is full of drinking every single time that someone drinks in the Bible, without exception, by the way. It was bad. It was really, really bad what happened. So, I mean, if you guys drink, that's fine. I just don't drink. But this guy, someone's playing with a pen, and I'm telling you, Shilo, that's you, I bet. Is it you? What a bedwetter. I'll tell you.
I got that from you, my man.
It's okay. So, anyways, where was I going with that before I got distracted with the squirrel?
We got rudely interrupted, huh?
Yeah. A man called me up. He was drinking and driving. Now, this particular guy was driving a side-by-side on a gravel road, and the person he was driving with didn't give him a ticket or anything like that. They didn't want to press charges, but they needed some stitches. And he feels horrible, okay? He feels horrible, but he got a DUI, okay? And it's not about the DUI. He lost his gun rights over a DUI. Shilo, Marvin, where's the violent offender here? And how were guns used? There were no guns in the vehicle. How did that happen? Do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is starting. One of the same people, I think, Marvin, that you just sent my way. That person got a young person that same thing. He went through a bad divorce, and she accused him of something. Did she tell you about this?
No.
Yeah, she was accused that he's a violent person, and they came and seized his guns for 365 days. We didn't even pass the bill when they're doing this stuff. I mean, we thought we had it conquered, but no, they're doing it. They're doing it.
And don't get me wrong when I question some of this. For those of you that don't know me, I mean, the two guys sitting here talking with me obviously know where I'm at. Like, I'm not saying that if you're a violent offender, you should get to keep them. Like, if you've done a crime like that, where you've hurt somebody very deliberately, and there's proof that you've threatened to hurt somebody, like, you shouldn't have additional ability. But then the argument goes back to, you can take every gun in the country and a criminal will still find a way to find a weapon.
Well, due process.
Yeah.
Even then, there's got to be due process. So just to say that, oh, this person or the judge or the state's attorney or a social worker or somebody says, oh, this person is deemed, that's scary. That's some bad precedent. And that's not what you were saying. But if there was a gun being taken away, there would have to be court about this, even a jury, in my opinion.
Yep. And that's where I'm at with like the process. But for failure to title a vehicle to lose your rights, you don't need a tinfoil hat, folks. If you know Luke, to know this isn't about a failure to title. This is being made a statement.
Well, and I don't want to make it like low is me or pity on me. I'm just talking gun rights. I wouldn't have a problem paying $1,000 fine. I mean, I would. That would be awesome.
That would hurt.
but $500 is even high. But I didn't have a problem with the fine. I have a problem with my gun rights being taken away. So,
yeah.
And now if I was caught,
I would even have problem with the probation, Luke, because what did you do to get probation?
Well, I do have a problem with that as well.
You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I do know what you mean. Because you waive up a lot more too. Your right to search and seizures are gone when you're under probation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, but
well, that's neither here nor there. Like it's excessive, and that's where I see this, because you look at like Gerald speaking out in Grand Forks with the whole Fufang thing. Can you imagine him in this very, very same situation? Like, as far as I know, he doesn't have anything hanging out there above his head, but he owns a gun shop.
Oh,
no, he's there. He owns a gun shop. I mean, that would be his livelihood, his business gone for failure to title a vehicle for a year. I don't know about you, but I can't afford to lose my income for a year, boys.
No.
So, like, I'm just baffled how we got where we are with your stuff, Luke. Like, I spent a chunk of the weekend, and we're not talking like an hour or two, folks. We're probably talking 13, 14 hours total over the course of the weekend, trying to find other cases where there was the exact same punishment. And you don't find them.
There are none.
Yeah.
So
I would like to know how many people are pled guilty to this, to the same thing, failure to switch title, and what their average penalties were. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, that would very, very much give you a case standing too.
Yeah, I don't know how to move forward on this. Hopefully, my attorney will do something. But so, speaking of interesting things, you guys.
Oh, let's hear it.
I don't know about you guys, but I was just up all night long in constant fear because my government shut down. And I was thinking, what if the Chinese are attacking my country and President Biden poor guy, he's not getting paid. I mean, the vice president's probably not getting paid. I mean, weren't you guys worried? The government got shut down.
Very much so.
I don't even know how that happens. Like, it seems like here, like following the legislator, you guys work on the budget bills first, not last. Like, it seems every year for the last 10 years, they've been threatening government shutdowns.
Yeah, it's getting kind of old. It's kind of getting a little old. What's kind of interesting is if they shut these businesses down and life kind of goes on as as normal,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that telling us that they aren't essential workers? And if they're essential workers, first, why did they have a COVID pass? And then, second of all, why are we paying them? Like literally, if the government can shut down and we're supposed to be okay, why are we paying these people? You know what I'm saying? Like, is anybody actually thinking about this? The government shuts down. What majority of the government was actually still up and running through this whole time? And then which part got shut down? And the part that got shut down really isn't essential, so we could get rid of it. Ron Paul once said, if Washington, D.C. fell into a major sinkhole, okay, and it disappeared and all electricity went off, it would take probably 6 to 8 months before most of America knew that Washington, D.C. didn't exist. And that's exactly how it is. And I'm not an anarchist. No, yeah. I'm not a what do they call those people?
Yeah, anarchy.
Anarchist would be
Yeah,
elimination of government.
yeah. And I'm not a libertarian either. I just believe in very limited, small government. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But,
Well, most Americans don't even know that their city government exists. So why would they know that Washington D.C. exists?
so who's on your city board, Shiloh?
You want me to name all 5 of them?
Yeah.
Troy Cooper, Bill Sir, Casey Bruner, and
Oh, you don't have to.
Marvin.
Marvin, I give you a notice. How many are on your board?
Mayor Mike Schmitz, you have Zenker, you have Marcourt, you have
You guys are
Perry,
no fun.
yeah.
You guys are no fun. I don't have fun.
Come on, man. You know I show up every now and then. They dislike me.
That should be part of the screening you do every time you interview somebody. You should make them say their who is in their government.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting? To be honest with you,
interesting.
we just had a change in government, so I'd have to actually think about it. Interesting. Well, I'm not a liar. I'm not.
Well, we know that. That's the problem.
If you behave yourself, you could probably check into that stuff. But you've been.
Did you guys see the legislatures going back into?
Seen that.
You know what's going to happen here? That's going to become an omnibus bill, and it's going to get everything you could possibly think of shoved into that bill. How they're going to end up opening up the ND rainy day fund and all that, you watch. It'll be through something like this. And get this, no one's talking about this, but this is a fact. So the pervs, okay, when they sued, that's one thing. They can do that. That's within the scope, right? Because they said that whatever. But then what's interesting is I want to get this right. I got Marvin here. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. The Supreme Court dropped that completely and sued them over something completely different. And no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. No one's talking about it, guys. Kind of interesting. So what gives the Supreme Court the right to sue on something that was not brought to their attention?
You would wonder about that, but I mean, how many on the Supreme Court were appointed there in the last 8 years?
Bingo. Under which guise of government?
By the executive branch.
Exactly so.
So what I found so interesting about this whole mess is the Supreme Court case, from what I understand, and keep in mind I'm not an attorney, or a lawyer, but from what I understand is the bill got struck down on the constitutional separation of the 3 branches of government, and the big part of it was over the employee retirement program, correct? because the Legislative Assembly tried inserting themselves into the retirement budget, which is under the control of the executive branch.
Yes.
Now, what I spoke about this during session, they had 3 identical bills come through House and Senate with minor modifications. And at the very bottom of each of those taglines, there was a $250 million kick to the retirement plan. And when you started asking around about it, that's where supposedly you find out that the state employee retirement plan was like $1.2 billion in debt due to bad investments. So if I was a seated legislator, and just hear me out on this, I would kind of want to be involved with finding out why an account was that negative,
Absolutely.
especially in a state where we have it as a constitutional thing. We're supposed to come out with a balanced budget at the end of every session. And 2, I'd want to know how, as a legislator, we could get it fixed moving forward so all the hardworking people in our state, our teachers, are part of that retirement plan. Our teachers, our city employees, our state employees that all sign up for it, how we could make sure that when they get to retirement age, they can actually retire. Because we sure aren't seeing it in teachers' pay. We see administrators, we see, well, Kit had what, $12 million worth of proposed tax adjustments for out in Hillsborough. Bismarck School District 1 took a $30 million check from the Legislative Assembly so far this year, according to Office of Budget and Management. But you talk to these teachers, they're scraping by. I spoke to a couple teachers up in Max. They had to fight for a $300 a year raise. $300 a year, not a month, a year raise. So yeah, as if I was a seated legislator, I'd probably want to be sitting in on those meetings and finding out where we lost $1 billion at. I mean, the only other solution that they could have been done is come out straightforward, and instead of having 3 bills, drafted 1 bill, figure out how much it was indebted, and been honest about it and said, hey, this money's gone. We need to fix it because we want people to be able to retire in North Dakota and move on with their life. But for the executive branch to say that the Legislative Assembly was interfering after we had executive branch at the Capitol testifying for bills to be passed, it's a convenient time to remember there's a separation of powers. Sorry for the rant.
No, you're right. After this is done, remind me when we're off air, and I will give you a legislator that possibly has been on here before, and he would have a lot of insight, Marvin, to go along with what you just said, because I had a good detailed conversation with him on this subject, and also it'd be nice to get a worm in what's going on with the ominous bills, because that's gonna happen, and you guys really need to cover that. I would have done it, but I got kicked off the show, so that's not my responsibility anymore.
Oh, really? Kicked off.
This last session, Bill, Luke, I don't know if you saw that, but I actually went through every bill and put them to Century Code before they were passed, so I could see what exactly they were trying to change, because some of these bills, some of these attempts that we see is death by 1,000 cuts. They'll take what they want passed in one section of Century Code and split it out over 6 different bills, so that if this little bit that doesn't mean much and this little bit doesn't mean much, all of a sudden you pass it, and now we have a whole new definition for our state health officer. We have a whole new definition for our health and human services. And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love that information, Luke. Sorry, it's it's been a day. You know me.
Marvin, have you been in contact with the Minuteman at all?
I haven't. Like, He's been quiet, or they've been quiet, or whoever it is has been quiet for a while.
You know what I would like to see, and this is just funny, you know, that we're talking about this openly, but since we lost the turncoat um, Porter,
Port.
you know, I call him a Benedict Arnold. That's what he was. I mean, honestly, that's why I ran. I mean, my wife would read me these articles, and I'd be like, "What the world?" And you know, he used to have the Rhino Report. You know, like the most liberal bills and who voted on what. And now, you know, he's just a bootlicker for the governor. But I I like throwing in little terminologies like that because I'm from out west, you know, and he is a bootlicker. That's what he's doing. He's just licking the boots of the governor is what he's doing. So, anyways, um, it would be nice to have a group of talented writers, and of course, Marvin, I am very familiar with some of your writing that I won't say anything about right now because, you know, anyways, moving right along. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's pretty known that I'm the shadow writer for our webpage, Luke.
okay. But, well, I mean,
Yeah,
there were some things
yeah,
that I was accused of back in the day, but I'm not going to get into any of that, Marvin.
yeah.
It's probably why I got kicked out of the legislature. They thought I was smarter than I was. Boy wonder something. Anyways, okay. So I see you're blushing, and he's like, "Okay, kill switch, kill switch, kill switch." But,
I
anyways,
miss my like Legos.
okay. But where was I going with this long? Oh, it would be so cool to get a talented writers that all write under one flag and just literally post it on the same page. It would be such a beautiful asset to North Dakota that you'd have an editor, of course, and the editor would proofread and make sure that it was adequate information. Can you imagine, Marvin? Like, because there are great writers out there that are very qualified to do this, but they're all solo soldiers that get depressed. And well, the Minuteman, who knows? No one really knows about him. He's a whole army, or it could be an army of one too. But
Well, and back to your conversation with Port and why you got involved. I mean, one of one of my favorite pieces where I really started watching our legislative session was his report on BlackRock. In 2016 or 2017, he wrote an entire article about BlackRock's investments in North Dakota before anybody was actually talking about it.
you're gonna have to
And
remind me, BlackRock. What are we talking here?
that's the second largest financial group. There's Vanguard and BlackRock, and they're all tied to overseas investments to the country that nobody likes to talk about. And so, like, he was talking about how our legacy funds, if I remember the article right, and this was a long time ago, how our legacy funds were all getting funneled through BlackRock and heading overseas. And not long after it, our then U.S. Representative Kevin Kramer was um, on TV talking about BlackRock and how our money was getting shipped overseas. But you don't see reporting like that anymore.
No. Well, you know, because he's too busy. Because he's in love with Rick Becker, and he follows Rick Becker around like a little dog, and it's kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
so, hey, are any of you guys watching the whole presidential? Man, hey, you know what's so sad is this isn't show anymore. This is Shiloh kicked me off, and that's just the way it is. But okay,
I kicked you off.
I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
guys right now as your friend. Okay,
Are you sure?
I watched most of the time. I watched another friend of mine on this show, and I didn't Google check a lot of the stuff that he said, but Trent Luce is a good man, and I respect him highly. But
Mhm.
this whole Donald Trump stuff, there's only one Democrat. Then the Democrats are too dumb to take him, so they're not going to. That Kennedy, he actually makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense. Um,
He does.
he's not so good on the whole gun issue, and he's not so good on the abortion issue, which are both deal killers for me. But the guy is phenomenal, and I like him. I love his voice. I just like the guy, and I can't say enough nice things about him. Everything I've heard with him, except for those two subject lines, are I'm like, whoa, he get kicked off the Republican debate table. I watched that. Did you guys watch that debate?
I didn't watch the second one. I watched the first one and it hurt my head.
So I didn't watch the second one. I need to.
Yeah.
Did Trump go to the second one?
Nope.
Oh,
He
good.
was campaigning in Michigan with the steel workers, the auto workers.
Yeah, they had a rally. He spoke at the same time the debate was on.
Yeah. Good riddance. He doesn't owe the GOP one bit. I mean, it's not Democrats he's fighting; it's the GOP that he's fighting. And they say he's not electable, and that's why they're so scared of him. And the only person that is any decent at all, in my opinion, is that Ramaswamy or what's his name, the brown guy,
Ramek Swamy or Vivek Swamy.
Swamy. Actually, he makes a lot of sense. I know a few people are out there saying, medical, whatever, this, that, the other. But actually, what he's saying is spot on. He sounds like Ron Paul. So I don't know about all the negative stuff. But if Donald Trump, he's our only chance we have in the Republican Party. Other than the Lord coming back, this is how I see it. President Trump has got this. He is killing these people. They don't even have talking points. All they have is they sound oddly like the Democrats. Who's that big fat guy that was making fun of Ramaswamy guy?
Christie,
the former governor of New Jersey.
That
Chris Christie.
Chris Christie, he sounds like the Democrats. Like, well, Biden, what's your plan? Well, I know that I want to get rid of Donald D. Trump. That's what their only agenda was to get rid of Trump. And I see this happening. I'm like, anybody paying attention here? Like, what? Is anybody paying attention? And people talk negative about President Trump. Have they forgotten how many good things he did? Was he right on everything? No, he was not right on everything. I could name those things off for you very easily. But I'm telling you, he's the only guy. He is what? How old is he, Marvin?
76, 77?
6 or 77, one of the two.
I think he's 77. And he's up there doing his Donald Trump dance at wee hours of the night. And he's not doing just a wee little speech. This guy is doing speeches, and he's knocking it out of the park. Like, literally, he's talking about what they're suing him about. He's going right live with everything. Anyway, you guys,
see, here's my only fear, and I brought this up with Shilo.
77. He's 77.
What's the plan if they actually manage to put Donald into jail? Then what do we do?
I don't think there is a plan.
I know. Like, it's scary. I have a follow-up question for you now that you brought up debates, Luke.
Yeah.
I'm personally disappointed that right now we are looking at, 8 months until the primary? And we haven't seen a single governor candidate step forward. I would kind of like to know who's talking about running for governor in North Dakota. Like, we keep hearing rumblings and rumors, but I think everybody's waiting to see if Doug pulls the pin and decides to run again.
That is very interesting that you bring that up, Marvin. That's one of the many things I like about you. Is you always come out of like, you're like, what's that guy that always wanted to rule the world with the big head?
Megamind.
That's who you are on the conservative side. Shilo, if you do the mascot, that's who you should like.
You're killing me, man. I'm even wearing the blue. Leave me alone.
That's funny.
There's a young barber that works in my barber shop. He's just a wonderful guy. I love him. You just
Very much so.
making a killing. And he had a scooter. We had a scooter club. I bought a scooter. My Uncle Mike is the coolest guy I've ever met. And he lives in Williston, and he has like, I don't know, 4 Harleys or 5 Harleys. And he got this scooter on a trade deal one time. And he was driving that thing all over Williston. He'll pull up to someone like this. And he'll look over at him. And they're looking at him. And he's a big dude. He'll just look at him. Beep, beep. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy one of these things. It'll be fun. And it's way fun in town. If you don't have a scooter, get a scooter. You'll love it. Well, I bought my scooter and I started a gang, at the barbershop. Everyone's making fun of me driving this big scooter or a little scooter. And I called it the Lonely Rider Club. And if you're man enough, we'll discuss you getting it. Well, then of course, the joke's on them because they're not manly enough to drive a scooter. And so anyways, my sidekick, he buys a scooter. And so then I had to rewrite the bylaws to the Lonely Rider Club and the Lonely Riders Club with an S. Okay. Complete different franchise. And so he's one of the riders. Well, he shows up the next day with a black backpack and a black helmet that was as big as his shoulders. He looked like Lord Helmet. I'm not joking. And I looked at him. I said, "You are officially kicked out of the club. I'm not riding with you no more." He goes, "What? Why?" I said, "Dude, you look like you're on your way to an Antifa meeting or something." Like, "No, you look like you're going to Black Lives Matter. I'm not doing this with you." He's like, "Why?" I took a picture of him. And his helmet was bigger than his shoulders. He looked just like Lord Helmet. But he's just awesome. And he went with it. He's just the coolest. I mean, honestly, he's more manly than I was at that age, honestly. Where was
Mr.
I going?
Simons.
Yeah.
Oh, the Governors.
I'd like to know what happened to your scooter.
It got stolen. And then why would you laugh about that? I didn't have it fully insured. It cost me $2,000. $2,000. These dudes. Hey, when I was ranting earlier, Marvin, these dudes stole my scooter. The cops knew who it was. They found my scooter, didn't even check for fingerprints. It was spray painted and all destroyed. I mean, completely demembered, right? $2,000, whatever. Hey, that's a felony, right? And so anyways, yeah, that's another thing that if I ever decide to build a dozer, you'll know that's going to be in my letter.
I was just laughing because, why would you steal a scooter?
Because he probably wanted to be cool like me.
Oh no!
Yeah,
it's
something like that.
Nothing against owning a scooter. I get it, but it's like, why?
Right off his porch.
right off my porch. Took it right off my porch.
Oh man!
So, where was I going with this?
The Governors, we were talking. I kind of blindsided you with the question, so I'm sorry.
But why was I talking about my scooters?
I don't know. We just kind of followed a crazy rabbit trail.
Because he called him Mega Head or whatever.
Megamind. And then we went to Lord Helmet.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Because I call him Lord Helmet now. Yeah. But even now he has a really cool bike and his helmet doesn't look like that anymore. But if you have a really big helmet, you need to get one of those jackets with the little shoulder pads. That way you'll look good. And you know what? Our governor, he needs to get himself a real Western hat. And I'm so sick and tired of this whole Teddy Roosevelt. I'm Teddy Roosevelt. I have a ranch. I'm gonna take. I'm like, no. Then he quoted the 10th Amendment. Marvin, did you laugh? I died laughing. I'm like, dude, you didn't even quote that right. The 10th Amendment has nothing to do with killing babies. Like nothing. And this is kind of a sideshow, okay? Am I entertaining you guys? I hope I'm entertaining you. Are you entertained?
Always.
It's a nice breath of fresh air, Luke. I always like talking with you, man.
Well, thank you. So think of it this way. Let's see here. Where was I going with that now?
The 10th Amendment.
The 10th Amendment. So these people, these baby killers, will say the 10th Amendment states rights to kill babies in their own states. Well, newsflash, the Democrats used the 10th Amendment to keep slavery going and saying that black people weren't humans with the 10th Amendment, folks. Maybe you forgot something. Maybe you didn't hear something right. But last time I checked, the Bill of Rights, if something is human, that is the question. If it's human, it falls under the Bill of Rights. Therefore, a state does not have the right to come against your God-given rights. It does not have. States have rules. The one rule is they can't go over the people's head with the Bill of Rights. 101 Constitution class, that's how it works. How it works. And these knuckleheads don't get it. They don't understand.
Yeah, it's bad. It is. The one that keeps killing me, and I keep bringing it up, is I swear to God, if I hear us referred to as a customer on a national stage again, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, we're not customers. We're not customers, folks. We are not the customers of the North Dakota government. They are our employees. That's what your taxes go for. That's what all of the money that they take out of our paychecks, which by now, after you figure out your property taxes, your food taxes, your gas taxes, your income taxes, you're probably only getting like 33 to 40% of your paycheck if you're middle class or below.
Yeah.
And yet we have bills going through our legislative sessions to lower income tax, lower your personal income tax. But you know who it really affects by dropping that tax rate from 2.4 down to 1.5? It's the people that are making over $400,000 a year in North Dakota. They're paying less taxes because of our legislative assembly, yet our property taxes are going up exponentially every year.
But we have good roads.
Do we?
Have you been to Bismarck?
Where at?
It's 45 minutes to get from the north side of town to Kirkwood Mall.
We have a fire department.
Oh.
Before we had taxes, we didn't have those things. Oh, wait a minute. We did. We did. Go to Florida, and you will drop a marble on one end of their interstate, and it will roll to the other end of the state because that's how smooth the road is. And guess what? It's pay toll. It's a pay road. It's a pay toll. It's what it is. It's a pay toll. And the roads have never been better in Florida since they did that. Now, I don't like who owns those roads. Do you guys know who owns those roads?
Who's that?
China.
Oh, no.
China owns it. But they have proven that they can take care of the roads better than the Florida government.
Well, and I mean, here's the other thing is maybe we should quit using the emergency clause in our city council meetings, our county commission meetings that allow them to put out contracts without collecting bids.
Are you suggesting that they would, do something not right?
I'm suggesting that if you spend any sort of time in our state checkbook on the Office of Budget and Management, you see the same companies taking money over and over again to do all these projects.
None of them would be owned by state legislators, would they?
Oh, well, maybe.
After this, actually, I'd like to talk to you about that in private when our phones aren't around. I will get you a contact of a legislator, Marvin, to where if you want to look up the Bismarck Mafia and the Fargo Mafia, because the Fargo Mafia actually exists too now. And actually it exists in Dickinson as well, because one legislator here in Dickinson owns a great deal of property that is in the Renaissance zone. So just saying that, this legislator can hook you up with just a few clickety clicks, and all that data will be at your fingertips if you don't already have it already.
That'd be fun. Well, I have. What do I have? I have. We were talking about the other night, and this is all public information, folks. You go to the Office of Budget and Management, you click the Financial Transparency tab, and you can go back on our state checkbooks to 2010, all the way to present. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but if you spend some time on the Secretary of State website, it's not very hard to figure out who's registered agents to what companies.
Yeah.
It's all public record. It's a matter of finding the time to sit and go through it all.
Well, wouldn't it be nice if we had a state's attorney that would do stuff like that, and a state auditor when he comes out with findings that the state's attorney would prosecute?
And not even just a capital state's attorney. Let's talk about county level state's attorneys, Luke, because we're running into it in small towns where mayors are reaching out to the state's attorneys for advice as to what to do, and the state's attorney goes,
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're in a sad state of government right now, and like I told Shilo, and we were speaking with Naomi the other day, like I hate being labeled one way or the other. Like I want people to know me for being a Christian, a father, a husband, and that my order for things is my faith, my family, and my state. And I know a lot of people say country, state, but when I was campaigning, I said it, and I'll continue to say it. We can't fix the White House until we fix our own house. And so, like, we really need. I'm going to hammer this again, Shiloh. I'm sorry. We need people. We need people to stand up and support their candidates that they believe in. And if you're a candidate considering running, 8 months, folks. You have 8 months to get out there and beat on every door of your legislative district. It's all the even numbered districts that are coming up for election. That includes 46. That includes 34. That includes District 8. So, I mean, District 8, we're going to see legislators that are going to be up for their third round of elections in under 6 years because of redistricting. We need you. We need you for your school boards and your city councils. So I'll push my soapbox away. I'm sorry, Luke. I'm sorry, Shiloh. Like I'm hot about this, and that's why I asked about the governor, because I want to know who is stepping up from the conservative movement that's going to put their name in the ring for governor of North Dakota. I want to know my Republican candidates, because after the last endorsing convention, I want to know well before May who's going to be standing on the stage at the convention.
Well, Rick Becker, according to the new Perry Schaefer rules, could not do that because he ran independently. So that's interesting. There is one particular person, I don't know if it's public yet or not, that would be running. That's a good person.
I've heard rumors of like 6 or 7. I would just like confirmations on 2 or 3. You know,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. I've heard crazy names out there. It's like, what? And then of course, you know, you hear Doug's going to pull the plug and run for governor too. And it's like, that's scary by itself, because he can, if he decides he's going to pull on his presidency run, he can still be our governor again. And that's why we need you folks announcing. I want to know who I'm supporting.
I have a feeling that he's not going to make it, and that this is just a ploy for a serious run in 28. Just my personal feeling, but
or a cabinet.
Yeah. But I agree with you, Marvin. We've talked about this even before you came on the show. I don't agree with this. Let's keep this all a secret. I mean, right here in District 2, and I've said this before, and I've gotten the eye roll and different things, but our 3 amigos up here have already started running. They have been in parades, and it's crickets from the other side. Now, I hear that there are 2 candidates that are thinking about running. I don't know the names. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but there again, what's the big secret? I'll tell you this, they know that we're coming. They know that we're here. There's no more sneak attacks like what happened at the convention in 22 when District 2 showed up with 92 delegates. They know that we're here.
So
You know what I mean? So I don't get where this play from behind tactic seems to where people think that works, cuz it's not. Our three guys are already out campaigning. There was questions whether Senator Rust would or not, but they've been in a parade right here in Ray, North Dakota. They are running. We don't
What were you
have
going to say there,
election.
Luke?
I think you guys should get the permission rights to play "And I Won't Back Down" as your theme song.
Tom Petty. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Well, we actually, Luke, we are working on an intro, and one of the songs that we have thought about is it's a Charlie Daniels one. It's one that we remember when we went fishing. See, I was telling Marvin I didn't know that Charlie Daniels played Christian music up until that day that you and I went fishing and we were listening to it in the boat. And it starts out with a Bible verse. And gosh, I can't remember what the name of it is. Let me see here. Anyway, that is one of them that is up for contention. I did actually tell Marvin about the "We Won't Back Down" song as well. So,
well, that's a good song. I sent that out one time on a group text and to a bunch of legislators, and man, everyone was like, "That's awesome." And so just so you know, I hear people say, like, "Hey, I'd like to know, if these people are running and stuff like that." Maybe just a different side point here. Marvin, that's not a fair statement exactly, because you didn't know if you were running until too late, and then you didn't even get to be able to get on the.
No, and I understand, but
Yeah.
that was a huge decision for our family. That's not just something that you pull out of your backside. What
Right.
disappointed me about that is we were at the state convention collecting signatures, and I would have higher up people in the Republican Party go, "Well, I can't sign your petition because I've already vouched for Michael Howe."
mhm.
And I said, "I'm not asking you to vote for me. I'm asking for you to give me the opportunity to run for office." But, and so, like, I understand there are going to be late entries, but I'm saying for those people that have already decided, they've already committed, they're already working, if they're legislators that are running for their seat again, by all means, let's know so we can have you on.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So, like, late entry, late decisions, and a lot of my decision, Luke, there was a lot of faith in it. There was a lot of prayer in it, and there was a lot of discussion in it. But
Yeah.
the big thing for me was I had spoken to Jim Silram right after I had decided that I was going to run. And he was on my list of possible Secretary of State candidates for when Al retired. And I spoke with him in person, and I asked him why he wasn't going to run. And that man looked me in the eye and said, "I don't want to run against the governor's money." And I heard that
Yep.
time and time again from other candidates. And you can't be scared, folks. You can't be scared, because you look at what the good ground game can do, doing the shows, getting out, knocking doors, meeting your neighbors, having a plan for what you want to do when you're elected. I mean, I took 33% with no name, no budget, and no time.
Right. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
So your smaller districts, your District 2, your District 6, your District 8, where you're a rural community, you could probably drag it a little bit longer before you announce, but a lot of these district folks are Bismarck, Grand Forks, and Fargo, and you should probably be knocking on doors now.
Yeah.
Oh,
The name of that the name of that song, Luke, is "Take Back the USA," and it starts with Chronicles 2.
Well, that's
Um,
important. But you know what else is important? I have to go to the bathroom.
love this show. It's the perfect evolution of beard growth. That came in on our Twitch. Oh, that's
oh,
funny.
goodness.
I guess I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Well, you're clean shaven. I'm short trimmed, and we got Shilo going on over there, but we also have the clean shaven to dark to like my ancient white guy, white
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
beard.
Shout out to my barber too. Does a good job. I don't know who he is, but
No, that rolled in on our Twitch. I've never seen the Twitch comment before,
I
so
haven't either.
thank you for that one.
I don't
Like,
even know what Twitch is, honestly.
it's another
It's a
streaming
social media.
platform. It's generally
Yeah.
used by gamers, and when I set up the website, I'm like, well, we're gonna stream to everything we can. So
Mhm.
right now, Luke, you are on Rumble. Hopefully, you're on QX TV. You're on Twitch. You're on YouTube, and you're on 4 different Facebook accounts
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Interesting. Well, you'll probably get censored after this Class B misdemeanor guy. Guys, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Appreciate
All right.
No, thank you for coming, Luke. It was awesome.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for being on. And yep. Sounds good. That's Mr. Luke Simons, a dear friend. I just I have a lot of respect for him. Met him 4 years ago, and some of the reason why I've gotten as involved in this as I have, and he's just a true blue American, and I can't say enough good things about him. So anyway, we'll keep you guys posted on his story and where that all ends up going, because I have a feeling that it's not over yet. So with that, tomorrow we're going to be on again. Tomorrow evening we are going to have Dr. Rick Becker on, and we're going to be talking about a property tax petition and other issues there as well. So
I'm gonna
if
ask
you
Rick
guys,
if he knows who's running. that's
there,
my favorite question since we're having local government week. You know, we have Luke today, we have Rick tomorrow, we have Cole on Friday. Everyone
Yep.
else is asked who they think's running for governor. So
Yep.
that's your fair warning, Rick, if you're watching.
So with that, oh, by the way, I was just gonna put a reminder out there. A couple of weeks ago, we had Steve Friskup from Muleshoe Fellowship on, and he was talking about the calling down there, or the movement that's happening. And tomorrow, October 3rd, and during the Bible study, it'll be on at 6:30 in the morning Central Time. That they're going to be on, and they'll be on the Muleshoe Fellowship Facebook page, where they'll be broadcasting that, so everybody can be involved that wasn't able to make the trip down there to Muleshoe. But I know they're expecting quite a few people, and according to Coffee with the Colonel this morning, there was people already there from all over the country. So be sure you tune into that. So I'll just give you guys a quick reminder. That's on the Muleshoe Fellowship Facebook page. Just go ahead and look them up. But other than that, Marv, you got anything else?
No, I'm gonna have to find better pictures for the wall. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I'm in little girl's playroom, and Sarah found animals with glasses. So
That's awesome.
on my backdrops, but sorry about that.
Yeah, I hear you. I have no problem. I've had Landry and Josiah's drawings on stuff, and I actually found one of my flags. If you can see it, it's a Trump Second Amendment one for 2024. So
You know what flag I
yeah.
really want, real quick before we
Anyway,
get off, if anybody knows where I can get one, I want the American peacetime flag. I would
yeah.
love to have one of those.
Jeff Wade, are you still on? I know that you guys bought one. Where did you guys get it? just a minute here. I think Jeff's still on.
Well, you can just message me.
Yeah.
I would
Jeff,
love one.
I know where to get one.
Perfect. Just
Marvin.
shoot
Okay,
a message
Lydia's.
for me, folks.
Yep. If you guys have questions for Rick tomorrow on the property tax petition, go ahead. You can go to our email off of our website, email us questions, or reach out to Marvin and I, and we'll be sure to ask those questions for you tomorrow. So, with that, everybody have a good evening, and we will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Time with Dr. Rick Becker. Have a good night, folks.
Have a great one.